Let's go. We are in Wayne's World, and it is glorious. Glorious on a Friday morning. Wayne Larrivee brought to you by Steam Fitters Local 601. Learn more by visiting steam601.org and National Fire Sprinklers Association. Visit them at nfsa.org. Wayno, I have done a deep dive corners of the non-Aaron Rodgers, non-Brett Favre starting quarterbacks in recent Green Bay Packer history.
Okay.
It's not.
Wait a minute now. Matty Flynn kept us alive in 2013 to give Rodgers a chance to win that division championship on the last week of the regular season. It only took quarterbacks.
That concludes the high point of everyone not named Rodgers or Favre.
Oh, my. Well.
Do you want to go through the Brett Hundley experience game by game?
No, I don't need to. But I will tell you what, and that was 2017, right? If I recall correctly?
Yes.
Brett Hundley? Yeah. And in 2017, when Brett Hundley came on, that was when it became crystal clear to me that the Green Bay Packers, outside of their quarterback position, weren't at that point in time a very good football team. And, you know, everyone said, well, the year before they went to the NFC Championship game. Yeah, that's because Aaron Rodgers went on a run that was second to none in his entire career. His greatest run was 2016 when he said, we're going to run the table, and they did all the way to Atlanta, okay? But that kind of belied the roster had been, you know, kind of deteriorating around him. And he, you know, a great quarterback like Tom Brady, same thing in New England. What did you find out about the Patriots when Tom Brady left? They aren't that good. And that was the problem with the Packers in that particular point in time. Now, this Packers team, I think, is better from a talent standpoint around the quarterback position than those other teams we've been talking about.
Yeah. Brett Hundley played 9 games, went 3-6 in 2017.
But
read to you is
an epic overtime win on a throw to Devontae Adams where he went through the end zone and ran through the tunnel and ran home.
Yeah.
A Cleveland team that won one game that year, I think.
Yeah. So here I'm going to read to you his completion percentages game by game. 54, 48, 68, 72, 58, 65, 59, 76. That was the big Cleveland game, 27-21 win. 42 and 58%. And it was not good. 9 touchdowns over 12 INTs. So what do you think they're going to do for Malik Willis to get him ready to play this game?
I think they probably have tailored their game plan just a little bit to accommodate for what he can do, what he's capable of doing in this offense today, and what his talents are. I mean, he's a different quarterback than Jordan Love. So, you know, maybe a little more run-pass option, maybe a little more read option, that type of thing. Quarterback runs, perhaps, in the offense that wouldn't be there if Jordan Love were quarterbacking. So I think what Matt LaFleur, he's smart enough, certainly, an excellent strategist is Matt LaFleur. I think he'll put together a game plan that'll feature what this quarterback can do rather than what he can't do.
Wayne, I said last segment that I thought Willis would run the ball at least 5 times. What's the over-under on quarterback runs for 5? You like
I'd say over. I would say over. I think it'll be more like, you know, it might be 7 or 8. And a lot of that will be Butchie decisions that he makes on read option type stuff or run pass option. And he'll read the linebacker. And if the linebacker stays in the box, he'll hand it off. If he doesn't, he'll make a run, you know, that kind of thing. He'll read the linebackers in making that judgment. But, you know, I don't think it'll be just running the quarterback. I think what you'll also see is moving the pocket a little bit because he's, I believe, 6 feet tall or thereabouts. Maybe he's listed as 6'1". But, you know, they'll move the pocket a little bit to get him out on the flanks where he can make a play there. You know, they liked the reason he's here is because they liked where he developed in the pocket. They liked his development as a quarterback, not a runner, in what they saw in preseason this year.
when you look at this, we did over under with his runs, over under 40 runs for the Green Bay Packers as a team.
That's an interesting question because, one thing about Indianapolis, they're going to be loaded up against the run. They're going to load that box because they were run over literally last week. Okay. So regardless of whether Jordan Love's playing quarterback or not, the Colts are going to be determined to stop the run this week. And they were decent last year against the run, but boy, they got trampled by the Texans, and they're going to be bound and determined not to let that happen in Green Bay.
How much of this, the door is kind of open thing, was gamesmanship, do you think, by LaFleur this week?
I would imagine a lot of it. Just my guess. I haven't talked to Matt this week, but I would imagine, sure, why not? If you're not going to put the guy in IR and you think he's a week-to-week situation, sure.
Right.
Make the opposition think, well, maybe level play. Maybe they've got something up their sleeve here, and make them, devote practice time, precious practice time, to preparing for a player who's probably not going to play.
I'm always fascinated by the mechanics of how players who are injured get cleared to play and are put out there on the field, because the player, Wayne, always wants to play.
Mm-hmm.
The player is overly aggressive to the point of their own detriment. The medical staff is overly cautious because that's their nature and that's what they do. And the coach is kind of in the middle, trying to balance the two, while at the same time looking at their win-loss record and the status of his contract. It's the weirdest mix that exists in sports of, should this guy be out there playing? Me personally, I do not want to see Jordan Love out there on Sunday. I don't
either.
Yeah. Just to give you guys a little bit of an insight, and every organization is different, okay? And there are different pressure points in this scenario you just outlined, and they're real. But in Green Bay, Dr. McKenzie will have final say as to when this quarterback can go. It'll be a tug of war between Jordan Love, who wants to play, and Dr. McKenzie, who knows what's best for this guy long-term physically. And, the coach is kind of sitting on the sidelines from what I've seen in the past in Green Bay. The medical people, the athletic trainers, obviously, and especially the doctor, will make the determination, is this guy ready to play? Can we put him back on the practice field? Can we prepare him to play in a game? They will make that decision, not Matt LaFleur, based on what I've seen in the past in Green Bay.
Wayne, we've heard a lot from Matt saying, hey, if Jordan can keep himself safe. Now, with what happened with Tua last night, does that at all go into the thought process of the Green Bay Packers? I know the correlation probably doesn't happen a whole lot, but with what we saw, I would hate to see Jordan Love not be able to protect himself, get hurt for a longer period of time than what this is with a concussion or something else as well.
Well, and the other thing is, Kenny, you've got to have a certain amount of escapability. Jordan Love is known as a pocket passer primarily, but he has the ability to escape the rush and does often. So, the MCL has to do with, from what I've been told, lateral movement. Okay.
Correct.
It's why an offensive lineman guys can come back after a week later. They can come back. But if you're a quarterback, if you're a wide receiver, if you're a DB, a cornerback, that's harder to do because there's so much lateral movement and quick movement involved. Whereas an offensive lineman, it's forward, it's back, that type of thing. And there's not a lot unless you're doing the pulling guard and that kind of thing, unless you're doing zone blocking and that kind of deal. But an offensive lineman can come back from this injury a lot quicker than a quarterback or a skill position player. And that's the reason why. So I agree with you guys. I mean, I don't think there's any way they're going to put him out there if they don't feel he can escape the rush and protect himself.
Edgerrin Cooper was out there for 11 snaps on defense. Hafley said yesterday he needs to be out there more. I said, okay, well, talk to the guy who can do that. Oh, wait a minute, that's you. What does he mean by he's got to be out there more?
I think they felt like, there was one play where he was out of position at the snap of the ball, and the Eagles got a nice run out of it. But I think what they also saw later on in the game was that this guy can really bring it. And he's a smart guy. He's an instinctive guy. And I think instinct is an underrated commodity in a linebacker. That's something that is the best linebackers instinctively know what to do when they see it. And he's got that kind of ability. Now, he missed a significant portion of training camp, And that really hurts a rookie, okay? If he were a 5-year veteran, it would be no problem. But he's a rookie, and so they've still got growing pains with this young player. But his athletic ability and I think his instinct is the reason why they need to get him on the field a little bit more. And that's something we're going to see this week.
All right. How do you think the O-line looked last week in Brazil? Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being tight, buttoned up, best it can be. 1 being completely disorganized. Ballpark number.
6 or 7.
Okay.
I'd say, in all honesty. I mean, the Eagles at times in that ballgame, especially early, they had their way with the Packers offensive line at times. I mentioned it during the broadcast. I said, the Eagles right now are winning the war in the trenches, their defensive line against our offensive line. But I thought they made excellent adjustments in the second half, guys. Emmanuel Wilson kind of popped a couple of runs, and that seemed to open it up for the Packers. And Josh Jacobs showed you exactly why he's here. He's not just a power runner or a grinded out kind of runner. He can hit a home run or two as well. And, I think they really did a great job in the second half of regaining control of the offensive line in that regard and move the football. We're able to move the football on the ground. Pass protection was fine, I thought, for the most part. I couldn't tell on the quarterbacks if they were a little skittish because they weren't sure of the footing on the field. There was a lot of slipping early. But I thought Jordan Love was under some pressure early in the game, but I thought later on was fine.
If I had a Madden controller in my hands for the Packers calling plays, I'd be mashing the Jaden Reed jet sweep button with abandon. I would call that play way too much, but it is such an electrifying thing to watch, like we saw it the other day. I assume they're going to try to get a nice mixture of that play or variants of that play in their diet on a week-to-week basis. He's too fast. He's too good. It's such a weapon, right?
Yeah, I think so. But, all the motion they do, I wonder what I'm curious to see, and I don't know because I haven't seen practice yet this week. I'll see it tomorrow. But I'm wondering how much motion they will allow in their offense this week. There's a lot of motion going on in what the Packers do. And the quarterback's kind of he's got to sort it all out and get the ball in the right hands. So I'm not sure if they'll do as much of that, but I sure think there will be jet sweeps involved. And I'm sure that they'll have design quarterback runs with Malik Willis involved in this game plan.
All right. 0-2, God forbid, is a 7% survival rate to make the playoffs. However, that number, Wayne, extrapolates back to before the expanded playoffs of the last couple of years. It's also a skewed stat in that it self-identifies the already bad teams we know to be bad, like, say, the Carolina Panthers of the world. So it's not a true 7%, in my opinion, but this is kind of a must-win game. Oh, I said it. I said it, Butchie. Week 2 must win.
Yeah, there's no must wins in week 2. Now you get
Wayne,
week 3. Now watch out.
Wayne, I lean on the savvy veteran Wayne Larrivee. Is it, in fact, a must-win game?
Do you realize the Packers lost 4 in a row at one point last year and still made the playoffs?
The first 4.
The problem that you guys are seeing, what we're all delving into here is that, okay, so you have your 4-game losing streak. What does it matter if you have it in the middle of the season or the beginning of the season? You know what I mean? You can survive it. You can survive. But,
okay.
Yeah, it's an important game, a home game. Yes, the Packers. And here's the other thing, and I'll leave you with this. Mike McCarthy told me this every year. He said the biggest improvement from one week to the next for a football team is from week 1 to week 2. There's a lot of room for improvement for the Packers, and I think they'll make that improvement. I think they'll be a much better football team this week from the standpoint of executing the game plan, penalty situations, turnovers, that type of thing. I think they'll be better this week than they were in Brazil.
All right, Wayne. Thank you very much, as always.